Peru is a country with many social inequalities. One of the results of this is children with disabilities are very unlikely to get the support or care that they need. Ruth McKee is a physiotherapist from Ireland. She works in Shalom in Peru, a school that was set up with the support of Latin Link to give an incredible community for some of these children and their families. Ruth shares about a child who she met in 2019 who needed extra support. For the purpose of this story, let's call her Maria. She started weekly home visits with the family involving therapy and physio, building relationships and praying with them, telling them that everyone is made in God's image and how God can use Maria. At the end of 2019, Maria was enrolled into Shalom for the new school year, starting in March 2020. The mum was so excited that Maria would finally be going to school. However, this child never got to start school because they were sick for the first 3 days, and then school was closed because of lockdown. Their hopes were dashed. But God continued to work in their life and continued to use Shalom and the situation they were in. This family faced a lot of difficulties as the parents could not work. They lived in a house with other family members and things were really tight. And they were gripped with fear of getting COVID. However, the mum said she could not have kept going without Shalom's support and says she's so thankful to God that they brought them into Shalom. The mum started to see how God had not forgotten them and God was using others to reach out to them. Ruth explains that those at Shalom were there to point her towards Christ and the hope that Christ could give her through this time.
So a quick story about perseverance and encouragement through prayer. Every couple of months I get a phone call from a guy called Mike. Mike is probably in his 80s now and I reckon he's been praying for France for 40 or 50 years. And he phones me to let me know that he's praying for me, he's praying for my family and he's praying for the work in France. And he's just a representative of thousands of people praying for France, I know. But the fact that Mike tells me and rings me up is just such an encouragement. And when I get to the age of 80, and when you get to the age of 80, I hope the Lord will still be using us in prayer as well.
The mission partner was working in one of the stand countries for 4 years without seeing any fruit. He had been praying that God would save someone, and yet he hadn't made any sort of breakthrough. In one of his final meetings with a contact he had been reading the Bible with for a number of years, the contact casually mentioned that he was having to renew his ID papers, his identification papers, which is a normal thing in that part of the world. And he casually commented that, I suppose this time I'll have to put down my religion as Christian. And that was his way of indicating that he had chosen to follow the Lord Jesus Christ. And that would be something that would have profound implications, not just for him, but also for his family. God does answer our prayers for the lost, that people will come to faith in the Lord Jesus Christ.
Prayer is a huge part of what we do here in Josiah Venture. In fact, inspired by the Moravian missions movement that started actually right here in our own backyard, we built a prayer room in 2016, an online experience for people to come and engage with what God is doing here and throughout the region. In the 1700s, the Moravians actually started a round-the-clock prayer watch that lasted for over 100 years, continuously. And since our launch in 2016, we've logged almost 40,000 hours of prayer, and we find that a huge cornerstone and a support for what we do.